Do you want more misunderstood movies and madcap slumber party fun? Well, join us. Join our Supercore at patreon.com/cinema-insomnia. You can get exclusive perks and help us make this 16th season your favorite Cinema Insomnia season ever. Become one of our patrons. I think you're a patron at Patreon. Yeah, I believe that's how that goes.
Does Tron go to Patreon?
Oh, I hope so. I love Tron. Patreon.com/cinema-insomnia.
This space for rent. This signal space to your ears for rent. This space between your ears for rent.
Do you have a product, service, website, company? Propose, perhaps? No, we don't want to do that, right?
If you can't propose?
Well, I mean, if you really wanted to propose...
It would be encased forever.
Johnny says, will you marry me, Susie? We could do that, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Why not? If you have a product or service or whatever to promote, people, especially that you want to promote to our listeners, why not become a sponsor?
A sponsor, you say?
Yeah, a sponsor of this program. Contact Mr. Lobo at his personal email. I'm giving this out right now just for you. Okay, don't tell anyone.
Shh,
all right?
Whisper it.
Mr. Lobo, that's MRLOBO, at cinemainsomnia.com. CINEMAINSOMNIA.com.
That sounds so sexy.
Yes. Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. Contact me and we will get you on the air. We will talk about your stuff.
Your stuff. I believe this is the point where we start the program. Huh?
Oh, that's right. So why don't we get this program started? All systems go.
Hurrah.
Attention, Sleepless Knights. Thank you for consuming this OSI 74 product broadcast live from the Black Knight satellite. For optimum performance and safety, your host, Mr. Lobo, asks that you please listen to these instructions carefully. When in a hospital or other healthcare facility, observe the restrictions on the use of electronic devices. Switch off before boarding an aircraft to prevent interference with communications systems. Do not operate this device in the presence of flammable gases or fumes, chemical plants, or where blasting operations are in progress. Always listen hands-free while driving a vehicle. Failure to observe these instructions may lead to immediate termination. It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
You're not dreaming. You are not in a tin can, and you are not on the Black Knight satellite. You are somehow listening to the Sleepless Knights of Insomnia. I'm your host, Mr. Lobo, and my co-host, Paul Sanders of BESTOW TV, I'm told, is on the other end of this wire.
Hello.
I mean, if I jiggle it, maybe I can hear his voice.
Can you hear me now?
I do. Yes.
If I hold this wire hanger this direction, do you hear me better here? Is it better A or B? Here we go. A and B.
Raise one leg and try it again.
All right. A with one leg up.
Uh-huh.
B with one leg up.
I think B with one leg up is the best sounding.
I'll try to hold this for an hour, but I can't guarantee anything.
You can put your leg down during the breaks.
Oh, is that how that works? Then if that happens, then what happens if we can't make a connection afterwards?
I guess that's true. There's always that risk.
This took 3 days to set up, man.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. I mean, this is supposed to be the future, right? I mean, we're able to talk to each other on our wristwatches and wedding rings and foil wrapped chicken. You can pretty much communicate on anything now. But somehow, every time I try to do it, not just our podcast, Paul, this is like every time Mr. Lobo is a guest on a podcast, there's 2.5 hours minimum of troubleshooting, of trying to get the connection good, trying to hear each other, trying Discord, trying Skype, trying, Blog Talk, radio, or whatever thing, and most of the time, nothing working. Or sounding like you're at a payphone underwater.
Well, on my end, you sound like you're on a payphone underwater, so we've achieved that goal at least.
We've got to that. We've got to the blog talk quality.
So I had to apologize to the listeners that you're not exactly 100%.
Well, I'm never 100%, even when we're in the same room, Paul.
That's all right. Neither am I.
Well, but this podcast means so much to us, and we know it's important to you, that we've just decided to, even though Paul and I cannot be in the same room, and we will be talking about why we're not in the same room, we're still going to try to bring this podcast to you. But this is more like traditional podcasting, right? Where you've got one jackass in a filthy room full of fast food containers in one space.
That's why I put the camera cover back on my camera. Quit describing what I'm sitting in right now. They don't need that mental picture.
And another jackass sitting at a cluttered computer table and surrounded by fast food containers in another space. So this is we've actually come full circle to actually embracing the crappiness of a podcast.
I mean, I think you're on the happy end of the whole thing, because now you don't have to look at the pantsless producer all day.
That is like a benefit of this, And
Maybe
again,
I should turn my camera back on.
Most of the people who do podcasts are terrible with human interaction and eye contact in general. So I can see how this works for most podcast hosts. But yeah, and don't turn your camera on, Paul, especially if you don't have your pants on. Damn it! I went to school. I have an FCC license that allows me to broadcast over real terrestrial radio, and here I am, just talking out of my ass in a cluttered room to someone that I don't even know if it's really even you, Paul. It could be some kind of doppelganger or maskatron of you.
Don't spoil it.
All right. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
It's a maskatron.
We'll find out by the end of the podcast.
That's right.
I mean, at least everybody can be glad of one thing alone. It's not another damn podcast with Paul alone.
I think that's a testament to our dynamic as a duo, is that episode.
Although did you see that on Twitter? That one guy asked when was the pantsless producer going to come on alone again?
He may have been being facetious, Paul.
Hey, it's the internet. I can read it however I want to read it.
There's no emotional content to any of these words, so we could just make them. We can decide to be angry, or we can decide that we're being supported and loved. So a few things, I guess. That was the main. I think that's the main thrust of at least this first segment is that how difficult it was. We tried Discord first, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's weird because that's what my kids use. Whenever I say Skype, they snicker at me like I'm, hey, I want to talk to you on the Skype. Skype, Dad.
Back when I was your age.
Never, Grandpa. And then so they use the Discord, and it's probably they're already on to something else, because Discord was not very successful, at least in simplicity of setup and the quality of sound. Right? Paul,
I know a lot of gamers and stuff still use Discord, so.
And I'm not saying anything bad about Discord. Usually I mainly use it to text people, like my son or my both of my children. Both of my children. But I think usually it is a kind of and Cliff Jones, who runs our Twitch channel, the Cinema Insomnia. We'll plug that right now. #plugged. Cinema Insomnia Twitch channel, where we're running 2-hour episodes all day long of your classic Cinema Insomnia episodes. Cliff is pretty hip and with it, and he's on the Discord, and so is my son Derek, mainly. But so we tried Discord, and then we talked a little bit on the Facebook voice thing for a while, because we couldn't hear each other on the Discord.
Oh, and that was just complete garbage.
And that was complete garbage, total garbage. Basically like a Radio Shack walkie-talkie.
I think a Radio Shack walkie-talkie works better.
Better? Yeah, I think it was the insult to the realistic corporation. And then we went to Skype, but then for some reason, whenever I called Paul never answered, like he didn't exist.
It would never come up.
And it didn't call Paul at all, even though it said Sir BESTOW.
It was funny is when you were on Discord, I could actually hear you calling me on Skype. I could hear it. I could hear the ringtone, but it wasn't popping up on my screen, on my side.
At one point, I think we had all three things open at the same time. Discord, the Facebook, and the Skype. And but anyhow, yeah, so then I had to upload the latest version of Skype. And
See,
then
I did the same, so that was probably both of our problems.
And then then magic started to happen.
And now you're stuck with this garbage.
Yeah, and this is we have to apologize for this because this is an experiment. We're not even sure. We may even flush this episode after we complete it. You may never hear this.
The lost episode.
This is an experiment, and and this is kind of the sad thing because Paul and I have been pretty good about getting together often enough to at least get these out weekly to you, but we've both been so busy. Paul, tell me what you've been doing.
Well, I think like the last time we brought gear up to record podcasts, we were going to record with Aaron Lane and everything, but we were so damn busy with trying to get Cinema Insomnia episodes out that was not high priority of that weekend, and that was probably 5 weeks ago. So
wow, really?
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine, but yeah, it was that long ago. Because Paul, well, not 5 weeks ago. Well, shoot, maybe it was 5 weeks ago.
5 weeks ago.
Aaron went home on like the 2nd or 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Or the 2nd? He went home on the 1st or 2nd.
Yeah, and I was home before he went because I had other obligations.
Yeah, you went home on the Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and then Aaron got on a plane like Wednesday or Thursday. And then, so it's been, and that was 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, that is unbelievable. Where does the time go?
Out the window.
The damn window. And what do we get for it? We're still broke. We haven't won the internet yet.
Well, I hear you might have won the internet.
Well, you know what? I invented liquid uranium today. And some jackass out there is going to prove me wrong. But Google's a fickle mistress. I have been trying to get more response from my Twitter people. I'm trying to Twitter-pate my fans, so to speak. No comment, Paul. And so I've been doing these little, they have trends, things that people are talking about. And if it's movie-related, I've been trying to chime in. Rather than just throwing a hot dog down a hallway like I usually do on Twitter.
That is so gross. You just used the wrong analogy.
When I'm Twitter-pating my fans. Rather than you throwing a hot dog down a hallway, which is usually just me posting a photo or saying something that's relevant. People are not interested in relevance. I decided to just comment on one of these trendy things that people are sort of looking at. So one of the things today was give a film a new theme song. And, so I looked at what people were doing on the hashtag give a film a theme song. And for Thor, they have Hammer Time. And for Mrs. Doubtfire, it's Dude Looks Like a Lady, which I think they already used that song in Mrs. Doubtfire. I think it's actually in the movie. So that was a foul for that one. Titanic is funny. They said Ice Ice Baby, which I don't think that's the name of the song, actually. I think is that the actual name of the song, Ice Ice Baby?
Ice Ice Baby for Vanilla Ice? Yeah, it's Ice Ice Baby, I believe.
So the song is called Ice Ice Baby. Mm-hmm. Okay. I thought it was like a self-titled song, and then they just say the refrain in the song is Ice Ice Baby. But okay, well, that is funny. I think that's a good one. That's another winner. The Godfather, We Are Family. That's funny, Sister Sledge song. Fatal Attraction, Never Gonna Give You Up, and then they've got a cute gif of Rick Astley underneath it. Harry Potter, Do You Believe in Magic? That kind of thing. And then Star Wars: A New Hope, there's a picture of Luke and Leia, and then it says, if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right, So That's funny, right?
Right.
So I thought, okay, well, obviously someone has done Whip It for Raiders of the Lost Ark or Indiana Jones. And I didn't see it on there. So then I went and I looked for, I searched Google for a picture of Indiana Jones wearing an energy dome. They're always called flower pot hats, which is kind of stupid because they really don't really resemble a flower pot. Maybe I'm just sensitive because I'm a Devo fan, but it really never looked like a flower pot. In my, it's not terracotta. There aren't just 2 steps to it. It's red and it's got like 4 steps to it. Anyway, Art Deco lampshade would be a closer analogy to what a Devo hat looks like than a flower pot. Maybe the baby of a flower pot in an Art Deco lampshade. I don't know. But I thought maybe it would be pretty damn easy to find a picture of Indiana Jones brandishing a whip with the energy dome on. And I searched, Indiana Jones, Devo, Indiana Jones, energy dome. Did not see a picture of Indiana Jones wearing an energy dome. So since I was waiting for Paul to talk to me on setting this up,
3 long days.
For 3 long days, I thought, well, I'll just grab a low-res image of Indiana Jones, the poster for Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh, that's another thing that really ticks me off. I don't know if this bothers you, but this sort of retro titling of those movies, where Raiders of the Lost Ark is not Raiders of the Lost Ark anymore.
It's Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark now.
Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I think is just, I mean, really, is that really necessary?
I kind of get it because I remember being confused as a kid, not knowing that was the first Indiana Jones. I always thought that was just a separate entity. My Indiana Jones starts at Temple of Doom, and it wasn't until much later, like, oh, wait, these are related. These are the same thing. So, I mean, I kind of get the retroactive titling.
Yes, but, I mean, with James Bond movies, they don't need to do that.
I guess.
I mean, they could
have
have
watched James Bond, so I can't tell you.
But, I mean, they could have put Indiana Jones on the box and then just let the movie be Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, they could have put Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. They don't have to change the title of the movie,
right?
Do they?
I don't know.
All right. So you're on the side of changing the title of the movie.
I mean, I'm all right with it being changed on the box art, but not necessarily in the movie itself. But we're in an age where, Jabba the Hutt now exists in Star Wars, so...
Yeah, the movies are never done, right? I mean,
right.
George Lucas kind of it was a game changer where it was like a film is a fresco, and it's a fresca actually.
Fresca?
It's actually one of those machines that will make you any sort of soda that you want. That they have now, the Coca-Cola Freestyle machine, where you walk up and you say, I want a caffeine-free cherry vanilla orange slice, and somehow it happens. That's what movies have become, where there's no definitive version of anything. That's why we have things like the Mandela effect, where people are misinterpreting false memories of different things that they probably saw, but then someone decided to change. Anyhow, coming back to this, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, I got a cheap low-res picture of the Raiders of the Lost Ark poster off the internet. I put a Devo hat on him, and I put it on my Twitter as the answer. And I did not say Whip It or Raiders of the Lost Ark. I figured the poster says it. If you can't get there from seeing those 2 things, then that joke wouldn't be funny to you anyway. So I think that maybe, Paul, I finally won the internet. I think this will break the internet.
Really?
I feel like
you didn't have to get nude. You didn't have to pour champagne over your naked ass. You broke the internet with Indiana Jones and Devo.
Yes,
I think
so.
that deserves a round of golf claps.
Slow, polite claps. I feel that this is what my whole career has. All the hard work and writing material and hours of shooting and the tears and all that was all meaningless. Really, all I needed to do was come up with something stupid on the internet that someone else hadn't already thought of.
Yeah,
so I feel like I've finally done that.
And it's not of your property.
That has nothing to do with my own abilities or talent. Yes, I feel like that's finally what it's come to, and I feel like I can be a success now. I can really finally be a success story.
About damn time.
Yeah, and people are already eating it up. You know, as people are saying, crack that whip, and there must be 5 likes on this thing so far. So
holy shit!
Exploding.
It's like 3 more than normal.
Oh no, 8. 8 likes.
Wow.
And 1 retweet. And
Wow, a retweet?
Comments.
Holy cow!
And it's only been up 33 minutes.
Wow.
So I am setting the internet on fire with my Raiders of the Lost Ark Whip It crossover.
It's either you're setting it on fire or it's an STD.
And speaking of STDs, Mr. Lobo's hands are covered in rashes.
Radishes?
Radishes, yes. Now, is it time to go to a break?
It's
Paul?
time. I guess you haven't been getting my text messages.
I'm looking and I see it now. And it was said 3 minutes.
Yeah.
At 8:55, and it's now 9:01.
Yeah.
My math is not great, but I'm assuming it's already time for us to go to a break, or past time for us to go to a break.
Past time for a break. So that sounds. How about we put a pin in it and return to it when we get back?
Let's put a pin in it, and then you can come back and find out about the horrible rashes that are all over Mr. Lobo's body when we come back with more Sleepless Nights of Insomnia via the Black Satellite.
And the pants of the satellite.
In space, no one can hear you scream. Alien, rated R from 20th Century Fox.
And we are back for the most part.
Wait, do I have to lift my leg? Do you hear me now?
Keep lifting your leg, Paul.
A or B? See, I told you I shouldn't have put my leg down during break.
Sorry, Paul. Sorry, Paul. I guess I thought maybe you could get a break, but no, I think you're just going to have to keep your leg up like that for the whole
What if somebody walks in? This is not going to be very flattering.
Especially without your pants.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a pox has fallen on our organization. A lot of bad things have been happening, and I apologize if this is a little bit more of a negative.
Cats
we try
and
to be
dogs
positive.
Living together.
Mass hysteria. Mr. Lobo, just after Aaron left, I started breaking out in a strange rash. It started with it almost looked like tiny pimples on my hands near the edges of my fingers, and then it got worse and worse and worse, and I started getting them on the backs of my knees and my insides of my elbows, outsides of my elbows, and my ankle, which I usually not to get too personal, but I have a rash on my ankle, or eczema on my ankle, since I was a kid. So, and that got inflamed and worse, and so very rapidly I felt this rash was closing in on my whole body. My ears started getting itchy, the back of my head started getting itchy. Once I started feeling like maybe it might starting to be getting on my neck or close to my eyes, I got real scared, and I went to the doctor. Now, men are typically very bad about going to the doctor. I haven't been to a doctor for over 10 years. And because of this, they required a cash payment from me up front.
Don't blame me.
I had to pay $130 just to have a guy look at my hands and go, "Oh yeah, you got dyshydrotic eczema. Go to the pharmacy and put this ointment on." And pay them for it first. And and here's your prescription. And that was basically, I mean, I felt like it was like thrown in and thrown out. I felt like I was going through a turnstile where it was just like, chuk, 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 and then like a bunch of people yelling at you, and then you find yourself like flat on your ass on the front stoop of the hospital. It's like, wow, that was what $130 feels like.
Mm-hmm.
But they prescribed some steroid cream. And it's starting to turn into something else. It almost looks like a sunburn now, where it's just peeled skin. So I think this is probably the end of it, where it's kind of like a snake skin sort of coming off. And if you're eating your dinner right now, I apologize. Mr. Lobo is trying to be real with you, which is what podcasts are all about.
I mean, honestly, if they were eating their dinner and listening to our show, they should have learned by now that is not a good combo to begin with.
I guess that's so. Yeah, so that's a strange thing, and they basically said that it could have been an allergic reaction. Now, I had stepped on a container of laundry detergent right at the end of, I think it might have been a couple days after Aaron left, and I cleaned it up with paper towels. And the stuff that's in Tide and all those kind of like laundry detergents is horrible. And it used to give me allergic reactions or make me itchy when I was a kid. I would occasionally have those kind of problems with detergents. So it could have been, that might have been the catalyst where getting a lot of that stuff on my hands sort of threw me into overdrive with these with this eczema. The other thing, they said anything could cause it. Excessive hand washing could cause it. A change in the humidity could cause it. So it could be something
being around Paul or Aaron could have changed it.
Around Paul or Aaron, yeah. It's but really it was probably right after you. It's surprising. I'm glad it didn't happen while we were shooting because I'm very self-conscious about it. I don't know if I would feel comfortable being on camera with these rashes. I think that it would definitely interfere with my otherwise sterling performance as Mr. Lobo. So I feel not great. My confidence level has been pretty low, honestly. And I've been not wanting to write, not wanting to draw, not wanting to do art, not wanting to be in front of the camera. So that has been kind of like a downer for me, but a lesson in maybe getting myself to the doctor a little more often.
Right.
And maybe trying to get health insurance. So I've been working on that this week, trying to get some. I think that's 500 self-esteem points is trying to get yourself on some kind of health insurance.
And then the bonus points with the Whip It poster. I think you're building to it. You're getting there.
Yes.
Between the Whip It poster and the self-esteem points.
Yes. Whip It poster
and the fact that we took 3 days to get this goddamn podcast to work. I think we're going to be rolling in it in 2020.
I think it's going to be good. Yeah, this is what it's all about. 2019, Paul. What do you mean 2020? I think 2019.
Oh, you think 2019 is the year?
Blade Runner is going to happen.
Oh, yeah?
They're going to need us.
Oh yeah, I'm going to have somebody after me. Would be accused of being a replicant, am I?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you already accused me of being a replicant at the beginning of the episode. Yes, might as well just come forward now.
Yeah, when we find out at the end of this episode that you're actually a replicant.
When Harrison Ford shows up on my step.
With the energy dome on his head.
Energy dome on his head whipping me. Like, I don't even get the reference.
So, and on top of Mr. Lobo being covered in horrible scales like the hideous sun demon, Aaron had a problem with his hard drive, with the hard drive. Now, Aaron came all the way out here from California to Pennsylvania, stayed with us for 3 weeks, and we shot the Blobfest special. Mm-hmm. We shot Creepers. We shot, what was another episode that we did while he was out here? We did, which is I guess the season finale, but they don't know about that. I was trying to think of another one that we worked on.
Spoilers. Do I need to bleep that now?
You may have to. I'm trying to think of what was the one that. Anyway, we did a lot of work. We did the Bob Wilkins Lost Tapes. We shot that out here. We shot an intro for Creatures Con. We did and 3 brand new episodes that have never been seen, including the season finale, and 2 other movies. I guess we probably don't want to give those away yet, what those 2 other movies were that we were wrapping around.
But if you want to send me a private COD, I will gladly let you know.
That's right. If you say give Paul a little bit of money, he'll leak that info to you.
Not even money. Just send me a picture of a smile. I'll be like, all right.
Oh, emoji, smile emoji, and Paul's probably in your hands.
What?
So
why'd you send me a turd?
That's ice cream.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, ice cream. So
I don't want to eat your ice cream.
So what ended up happening is that the hard drive didn't boot up. Now Aaron was shot all the new stuff 4K. One of the reasons is that he wanted it to be at the best quality humanly possible, and that's what he normally shoots in. The other is that he likes to punch in so that he could actually have if
we can do it in less takes, basically.
We can do it in fewer takes, yeah. And Paul, I mean, I always kind of just tend to do the show on the barest minimum quality, and Aaron and Paul are pushing the envelope. They're making the show better, and these newer episodes, it's great to hear from people how that it's like, wow, the show looks so great and it feels so current, and I like hearing that. I'm glad that people are appreciating the higher quality of these newer episodes. But that being said, each episode is about a terabyte of raw material, especially these last ones because they're so ambitious. So anyhow, Aaron was trying to work on one of the episodes, and the hard drive did not boot up, and it was feared. Aaron worked for Apple. He knows how to recover stuff off a hard drive. And the hard drive was a hard drive that you patrons gave to us. You patrons gave the hard drive to us. And it was not a cheap hard drive. This was a travel hard drive for an Apple. Do you remember what that cost, Paul?
I don't remember. I remember it was super expensive, and we needed it day one, and everybody rallied super quick to make sure that we had that and it was available.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And we had gotten some hard drives also. We got Brandon Blackmore, I remember, helping us. Mm-hmm. And I remember
Moxie sent us some stuff too.
Moxie and Miss Geek sent us some as well. Sent us some hard drives as well, which we used to store some material that we that I took to the National Honors Convention recently, and we had ran a whole film festival off of it. So we have been very blessed in having it in the first place, but it stopped working, and Aaron was unable to recover the shows, and now it is with a lab, and we do not know if we're going to be able to recover it or not. And it may cost I'm hearing $400 to $1,400 to recover those episodes. Wow. We are going to talk more about this when we come back. Like I said, brace yourselves, get yourself a nice strong beverage, and we're gonna talk more about the serious issues we're facing here on cinema and with Cinema Insomnia and Mr. Lobo and the Sleepless Knights of Insomnia.
Finally, a party game for all that useless knowledge. Play the award-winning, best-selling, world's greatest trivia card game, Movie Buff. A game about every motion picture ever made. Order now from PurvisGames.com. We come from the retro future. We want you to be nostalgic for what's to come. A new channel and distribution network for smart people with bad taste, featuring content from Church of the Subgenius, Creature Features, Cinema Insomnia, Sleazy P. Martini and Guar, Trauma, Corey Maccabee, horror, sci-fi, Saturday morning cartoons, midnight movies, and assorted trash we love. Add our channel OSI 74 to your Roku player or visit OSI74.com. All systems go.
Darkness has descended upon the sleepless nights of insomnia.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Come and talk with me again.
Something in the
Blah,
rear
blah,
ends.
blah. Yeah. And that's the sound of garbage.
Dog
so,
shit.
Yeah. We have a lot of dog shit around here. Okay, so Mr. Lobo's covered in scales, and our hard drive is with Aaron. I mean, we're not with Aaron. Aaron's hard drive is with the lab. I guess they fixed the casing, and they were able to see what's on it, which is a good sign. He was hoping that maybe they would just give it back to him, that now that he can actually see what's on the drive, that he can try to recover it again himself and perhaps avoid any more expensive recovery. And I don't know how that went. They might just go ahead and recover it. And right. But we've already decided that whatever it costs, it's worth it to try and recover because, right. The combination of efforts there. We had Paul there. We had Aaron there. We had a young lady, Roxanne, who drove from New Jersey 3 hours to be on the show. Crystal drove 3 hours to be on the show. Newt Wallen came on the show.
Joe Herb?
Yes, Joseph Herb, our Insomniac Supreme, came in, and and Jesse from Philly, who is Cosmonauty, and probably has been a real Seven girl more than anyone else. She's dependable, but it's still, we don't get her as often as we'd like to.
Right.
And so there's a lot of material on that drive. That it would be very difficult to try to get all those pistons firing at the same time.
Hard to make the magic the second time. Hard to catch. Was it lightning in a bottle? You usually only capture it once.
Yeah,
and not going to be able to do it again.
And I'm telling you, it was some great material. I don't want to pat ourselves on the back or anything, but I really feel like some of the stuff we did for the films that we did. I guess should we reveal those films? Probably not, right?
Probably not.
Okay, but we did some stuff with Miss Mittens, which was pretty ambitious. There's a major arc with her and her kind of extended family, which was complicated. We had some creatures that we built. We had a segment that took place in the future that we had created. Different versions of Mr. Lobo.
I got to be puppets again.
Yes, that's right.
One of these days I'll actually show my face.
Nobody wants that.
No, I don't even want that.
But and what's sad is that, not sad, it's actually very wonderful, is that everyone was there because they wanted to be there. And everyone came together and gave of themselves and volunteered to make something really special. And the only thing they get out of it is seeing how it turns out. And it would be a sadness if they're robbed of that, because they need to see their hard work come to fruition. That is the biggest shame, because if I can't pay these people, the very least I can do is to complete the project so that they can at least enjoy the fruit of their own work. So this is, I guess, another good place to talk about our Patreon, which is Cinema Insomnia, or it's patreon.com/Cinema Insomnia, #plugged. It is the place where, if you really want to support brand new episodes of Cinema Insomnia and the work that we do, which I kind of feel like it's sort of an important show. I feel like it really kind of is a lesson in media literacy for a lot of people, and a needed relief from a crushing, terrible world for a lot of people. So, if you believe in the show and you believe in misunderstood movies and you believe in the kind of humor that we do, which is, I think, thought-provoking, and, I would heartily encourage you to make that leap, to give us even $1 a month toward making these things happen. And hopefully there will be a sunny future in which all of these wonderful people who come together to make this show can actually be paid what they're worth, and we could have an actual budget to a decent budget to really make a better show for you.
So it would be it would be a sunny day if we all could share.
Yes.
You see what I did there?
Yes, Sonny and Cher. Yes.
So,
pop duo, Sonny and Cher.
There we go.
Couldn't be more relevant to what we're talking.
Perfect. I thought I nailed it. I'm like, nailed it. I was gonna give myself a golf clap, but go on.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I can give you the golf clap. Here we go. Yeah, we're both gonna win the internet today.
I doubt that. Well, you will. I won't. Not with a Sonny and Cher room. all the millennials are what the hell is he talking about?
So, but we've got and maybe while we're on the podcast today, maybe before we take our next break, or maybe during our next break, maybe we can try to reach out to Aaron and see if he has any good news regarding the hard drive situation. Because he won't know because it's Sunday. He won't know till Monday. So there might not be any news for this podcast.
No good
that
news.
Might be a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
As far as if we have the if we can save the material from season 16 that we shot in July,
right,
or not.
Right.
So,
I mean, I can use this moment real quick to say that this episode, as soon as we're done with this episode, it's going to drop like ASAP. So it'll be on like almost instantly. It's probably going to be a first for the both of us. And the thing is like I'm leaving for Dragon Con come next week, so it's gonna be hectic. It's starting next week all the way until mid-November. It's gonna be hard for the two of us to get together. So, these guys are gonna get this information almost like that. They're not gonna have to wait 2 months to hear this story.
Well, that's good. That's good. And Paul, tell us a little bit. Like I said, we haven't been together, and I talked a lot on my side as to why we haven't been together. And that is, we've been shooting, I guess we were shooting, and now we
haven't been together because we've fallen apart, and
that's right.
And
it's not you.
You found another producer, one that wears pants,
right?
And his name is Aaron.
Oh, is that why you're staying away? You don't need to be jealous, Aaron.
That's all right. It's all right. I'm still the big spoon. We're all good.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, we shot together. We had that long break. The podcast was on hiatus for that 4 weeks because I had no internet at that time. I had crappy internet to begin with, and then it just went away. It took forever to get it back.
You were down for a while there.
So the good news is now that we got better internet here, the YouTube side of things will start picking up. I'll probably just run everything on a delay, and we'll just put up everything that we've missed, and try to figure out, maybe I can do like dual episodes a week or whatever. We'll figure something out until we can eventually get caught up. So that's a positive. And like I said, Dragon Con is a new thing for me. That was a last minute scramble. I had a friend who offered. He said, if you get tickets to Dragon Con, which is it's down in Atlanta. It's a big show. They're predicting 85,000 people showing up at this show.
Wow,
that's how big it is. They have 5 host hotels. It's you have to go to 5 different hotels depending on what subject you're into. I supposedly like one hotel is a comic book themed one, and one hotel is like anime themed or whatever. They shut down the city on Saturday and have a huge cosplay parade. In downtown Atlanta. So it's crazy. But yeah, the friend's like, oh, I might have a place for you to stay. All you have to do is get a ticket. And I kind of hinged it on like, oh, well, I'll put out for a press, a show that big. I don't get approved for like New York Comic-Con for press anymore. I used to, but I don't. And I'm like, they're not going to approve me. So I'm going to put it out there, and then I'm not going to get approved, and that'll be my excuse not to go. And like less than a week, they're like, yeah, sure, come down. So
there you go. And I know you've talked about Dragon Con since the day I met you, so this is kind of a bucket list show for you.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that maybe this will be a replacement, because there's a couple shows that I want to get off the list that used to be my prime shows that were just, it's just tougher to shoot. But I'd rather
shows go through phases, and shows change. Comic-Con. I used to do Comic-Con in the '90s, and then it got too big. San Diego is what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And, not Williamsport. But you should, if you haven't, check out Mr. Lobo Does Comic-Con in Williamsport on BESTOW TV if you haven't yet. But hashtag plugged. All shows change. And WonderCon, which was my biggest show of the year, which was this big San Francisco show, they moved it down to Anaheim, and it went from being my best show in a year to my worst. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like, a lot of shows just kind of their priorities change, or their clientele changes, or they just change, and ends up not being a good show for you or for me in this case.
Well, I'm hoping that now that there's a connection that's being made, that I'm hoping that I can plan for next year and not plan in like 4 weeks that, I'm going to be away in 4 weeks. That was kind of a struggle.
Yeah, that's rough.
That was a tough call.
Too.
Yes. But so hopefully like next year I can budget and plan a little bit better, and get that one up on the roster.
I thought your Otakon video looked great.
Nice. Yes. I happened to go to Otakon, and I was inspired in other ways that allowed me to not look at the numbers as aspects. I got to shoot this many, and I got to get this done, and I got to put this out because I have to have weekly content. And when I went to Otakon, I didn't have any of that for whatever reason, and it was produced from a different position.
Came from a different place.
And I think it's better for it. I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like, Zenkai Con also came from a different place. Mentally, I was in a way different place. You were there for Zenkai Con and see where I was at. And even that video is a different video in comparison to everything else. Even though it was from a different place, it was something that was produced in a way that would never been produced if I was in any other mindset. And it's touching in its own way.
Yeah. No, I think I agree, and I do think they get better and better, and I think that a lot of people who have seen cosplay montages before go, oh yeah, okay, I know what this guy does. You should really check it out because it's really creative and dramatic, And I don't think people. I think a lot of people. I think the people who would appreciate it the most, what Paul does, should see it. And I don't know, and I think a lot of those people, they're definitely out there. And I wish I could just grab every single one of them and say, no, really check this out. That's not what you think it is. And and that is probably like a marketing. That's probably your hardest marketing issue, right?
Right.
Wouldn't you say is to try to get people to not try to prejudge what you're all about or what your stuff looks like.
See, my stuff is labeled for search engine SEO. I'm just not going to stumble over that word. My stuff is generated for SEO, and they see the word cosplay and they just think it's for cosplayers, and I don't generate in the mindset that this is only for that audience. It's supposed to be for anybody. Anybody can consume it. Anybody can enjoy it and watch it, and it's hopefully produced in a way that anybody can watch it. You don't have to be into cosplay to watch it.
It's genuinely and generally entertaining, and it kind of reminds me of like a really good music video, And speaking of really good music videos, I think we have some commercials, don't we, Paul?
Sure.
So why don't we enjoy these works of art, and we will be back with more Sleepless Knights of Insomnia.
It's coming your way now, The Boob Tube, the wild, zany new movie that's breaking records from coast to coast. Everybody's talking about The Boob Tube. Now, TV soap operas go crazy and become the adult comedy movie that can show it all, tell it all, and have you howling at all the insane situations which can only happen in The Boob Tube. There are the scenes you'll never see on TV, even on Mary Hartman, but you'd sure like to. They're the crazy, compromising situations that should happen in every soap opera, but never actually come off. Now, every soap opera fantasy you've ever wanted to have a howling good time with can be seen in one of this year's most popular movies, The Boob Tube. Don't miss The Boob Tube. The Boob Tube. The Boob Tube. In color, rated R for adults.
We're back with a special extra real Sleepless Nights of Insomnia for you.
Now, if people are tuning in really late and trying to figure out why Mr. Lobo sounds like he's talking out of a tin can, it's because he is.
I am.
But it's
I have a tin can and string coming from every orifice.
What a mental picture that is. I think this is the first time in cinema insomnia, wrong one. First time in Sleepless Knights history, we're broadcasting from two separate satellites. So Lobo is live via satellite, and I'm live via another satellite.
Yes. So and we're both being and both of those satellites are being transmitted by the Black Knight satellite. So it is extra weak in all directions. And it's interesting, and of course, there's a lot of complaining, not a lot of complaining, but, general complaining about, okay, we got these expensive shows we're trying to do, and, we had this hard drive die, and I'm covered in a horrible rash. But honestly, we are privileged to do what we do. We get to have amazing adventures and meet very fun people and do things that people wish they could do. And, we don't have to do the things we do. We get to do the things that we do. And it's sometimes hard to keep that into perspective. Blobfest is one of my favorite things that we do every year. And this year was the best year ever. I mean, our numbers were the best. The run out sold in 2 minutes. We sold out all our Saturday shows. Our Sunday was the biggest ever, and that's an amazing, wonderful, incredible bucket list event for a lot of people. It's like one day, and I was that person before I got there. One day I'll get myself out to Blobfest and see what that's all about. And not only do we get to do that, we get to in my case, I'm hosting it. I just feel like I'm stealing money, honestly. And this year, we had another sad, a bittersweet kind of Blobfest, because we had such a wonderful show. And a very big part of that is now gone. And of course, I'm talking about Wes. Wes Shank was a guest here on our Blobcast, and he got to talk. He got to be his charming self and talk about his history and how he obtained the silicone, which is used in the movie The Blob as the Blob. So he owned the Blob. And, I did not know that when I did that interview that was the last time I was going to sit down with Wes. And I'm so glad that I took that time to do that podcast. And Paul, we're doing this right now. A meteor might fall and crush one of us, I want you to know, Paul, that I really appreciate you.
I was trying to figure out what that bright thing was over there. I thought it was a meteor, but then I realized it was the sun.
There we go. Yeah, you don't get to see that very often. But that's the sun, Paul. But but seriously, you can't take anything for granted. There's a little sadness in everyone's life. But adventure has a cost. And We've had some good adventures, and we had a lot of great adventures with Wes, and those adventures are done. There'll be no more Blob Fests with Wes, so we have to be glad that we took the leap and we did those shows, and we took that time, to record that podcast with Wes and do that interview, and enjoy that time, because that time has passed. And Wes, wherever you are, thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing that with us. And thank you for sharing the Blob with the whole world, and doing so many events, Monster Bash and RetroCon and Blob Fest, and on and on and on. And I heard from people all over the country who met Wes and got to touch the Blob or take a picture with the Blob. And Wes also, he owned sci-fi props from a bunch of movies. And he's spreading the appreciation. He's keeping the flame. He's turning on new generations to these movies. And so we need people like that. Archivists, historians, collectors. Those people are heroes. They're the ones that are connecting the present to the past and keeping the past vital. So now we have to carry Wes forward and tell everybody about Wes, because now he's part of that history and part of that continuum. And now it's our turn to tell his story and connect that past to the present and the future. So I don't know what that has to do with cinema insomnia per se, or the podcast, other than I do feel like we're all connected to each other, and since we did have Wes on our podcast, it seemed proper to take the time and thank him and talk about having him on. And Paul, what number podcast was that? Was that
I do not recall offhand.
I think it's 24. I could be wrong. But if you think about it and you would like to hear the story of the Blob, listen to our Blobcast, which I believe was episode 24.
I'm looking it up as we speak.
Looking it up. And you get to hear Wes Schenk in all his glory. And maybe you imagine yourself meeting him in person and seeing him there with his bucket that contains a pliable, dark red monster that basically it's for how he describes it, it was a silicone that was designed never to dry out.
Hard. Yep.
Never hardened up. And what's interesting about that is that the last two interviews, he did an interview for the Channel 6 in Philly, ABC, and he did our interview on the podcast the same day. And he said something that I never heard him say before, which is that he felt the scariest thing about the Blob is that the Blob would outlive him, that it would still be pliable and the same even after he was gone.
The episode number in question is episode 24, called Blobcast.
Okay, 24. And I believe that was what I had said. So if you are, if after this podcast, if you really want to hear a fun, upbeat podcast that actually sounds good, spoken into microphones and not tin cans, please listen to our episode 24, Blobcast. So there you go. Thank you, Wes. And I'm sorry this was so rambling, but
yeah, I mean, we lucked out with Wes because I remember, we were there for what was it? ABC? Was that who shot the news piece?
Yeah, Channel 6.
And we were waiting for him and everything. And you had said, hey, let's do a quick one with Wes while he's here. And we weren't sure whether or not we were going to get him because we knew he was tired. He had just come back from another convention and all that other stuff. And when we did finally, he did agree to it, we were going to just do a really short segment. But once he hit his groove, and I knew he hit his groove, I just let it go, and I kept telling you to, just keep stretching it, keep it going.
Yeah.
So, and it was a good thing that we did that.
Yeah, it really was, and thank you, Paul, for helping us capture that moment and make it and get as much of it out of it as we did. It ended up being a really great interview, and we get a lot of compliments on that episode. So, again, it's I guess a good reason. It's why we do this, right? So it was definitely something where we all went out our comfort zone to make it happen, but it ended up being worth it for everyone. Again, take a moment to just say how much I appreciate the people that I work with. I do appreciate you, Paul. We make a lot of jokes and I make fun of your pants and all sorts of things.
It's all right. So do I.
But honestly, I couldn't do the things that we're doing by myself. And I certainly, and there is, you bring a lot to the table, to Cinema Insomnia, and this podcast certainly wouldn't exist without you. You are the producer of this podcast. We're very lucky, we're very lucky that we have, talented people around us that make these things happen. And I thought the stuff, like I said, the stuff we shot with Aaron, and Aaron is extremely valuable too. I think he brings a certain professionalism. I think the both of you together is just a 1-2 punch. And then if we can get Dixie on board also, I think that's why Creepers was so good. It had a lot of Dixie's energy in it, and your energy, and Aaron's energy, and we all kind of came together. And of course, we had Emily there as Jennifer Connelly, which was also bizarre and fun, and so much funnier than it was on the page. And Dixie is the gorilla, and Ryan is Michael Myers. We were like, I was trying to find my dollar store Michael Myers mask up in the attic, and we're like, okay, do we know someone? And Ryan came to mind because he's an effects guy. He does all the effects effects stuff for Newt's films, and we thought, well, he might have a Michael Myers mask, and he had the whole thing. And he came down and he had actually touched up his mask to make it look a little better, make it look a little more screen accurate. And so it was really awesome. We just really came together like a family and made a great show. So Creepers, I was a little worried about because it has a lot of sort of, I would say, irreverent and adult kind of humor for even for ours, but it kind of matches the tone of the movie and kind of comments on a lot of ills of the day. And people took it in extremely well. We had so many people say it was one of the best episodes we ever shot, and certainly one of the best of this season. And that's surprising because it kind of came out of nowhere. It wasn't even a movie that we were planning on doing. Dixie had come across an old script of mine that I had started in 2003 and said, hey, there's some good ideas in here. Why don't we do this? And I believe that continued the joke that Aaron and I were maintaining that so far we haven't produced anything that was on the Patreon list.
We asked people for a list, and we've like, we've not produced any of that yet.
There's a certain amount of kismet, right? There's a certain amount of Zen filmmaking. There's a certain amount of happenstance. In the case of Creepers, we had a friend who looked kind of like Jennifer Connelly who was coming over on Friday, and we thought, okay, well, that piece of the puzzle is there, and we have a gorilla suit, and there's a monkey in this movie. And so there were a lot of things. Oh, and we have a wheelchair. And so it was just one of those things where it was like the right time to do that film because all of the pieces were in place. And, there were several that have been written for this season, like Attack of the Crab Monsters and Boy the Plastic Bubble, which were on the list, that were completely written, but we couldn't get all the resources together. So that's another reason why we need a budget, is because if we want to guide this more, and if we want to be able to not be at the mercy of what we can afford to do, then obviously we need a budget to do so. But That said, I do feel like we have a great proof of concept. We do a lot with what we have, and I think people watching from the outside don't realize that it's just barely holding together with Scotch tape and popsicle sticks. And those popsicle sticks are chewing gum, and the chewing gum's borrowed. It's not even our chewing gum.
Oh, you should have told me that before I chewed it. I wish I would have known
you should
that.
know better than to pick things up off the ground and put them in your mouth.
Aaron gave it to me and said, "Here, chew this."
Oh, that Aaron.
Oh, that Aaron.
So, I guess look for Paul at Dragon Con, right?
Yep. Well, starting at Dragon Con, this is going to be 9 straight weekends in a row.
Oh my God, Paul. Oh my God.
We're going to try to produce this. Hopefully we can fix this Skype problem that you sound less like you're coming out of a tin can. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to some of our other backers and stuff and see what they can throw in there. We can talk to Cliff. Right. And see what he can help us with and see if we can do this because, I know you and I will get together for Baltimore in a couple weeks and you and I will get together definitely for RetroCon. But it's that time in between. Right now we don't have any episodes in the can. We have 1 episode in the can outside of this. So we're going to have to be content generators. We're going to have to find some time. And unfortunately, this is how we're going to have to produce for a little bit until we get some time to sit down and talk face to face.
Yeah, hopefully maybe we could take a little time at Baltimore maybe to try to knock one out or more. Mm-hmm. And RetroCon. RetroCon's going to be busy. But we'll see. We will see. I'm excited. I love RetroCon. Baltimore Comic-Con's always a blast. So I look forward to seeing you there, Paul. I look forward to seeing all of you soon at a convention near you. But if you cannot see us, please tune in again, won't you? Hopefully all of my scabs will have gone away by then. Thank you very much. And thank you, Paul. Don't die on me, man. Keep that meteor at bay.
I can't guarantee that.
All right. We should probably check in on Aaron, make sure he's okay.
Yeah, let's give him a call.
All right. We're going to call Aaron, and we're all going to have a good cry. No. We're all going to...
I started crying. We're all good.
Yeah, we're fine. And we hope you're fine wherever you are, and we'll see you next time.
You have been listening to the Sleepless Knights Podcast, or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Dead House Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. And you could reach Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. Or find me on YouTube, YouTube/Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO. Mr. Lobo on Facebook, Facebook/MR.LOBO, or on Twitter, at Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO.
Or you can find myself, Paul Sanders, or better known as BESTOW TV, at BESTOW.TV, on YouTube /BESTOW TV, on Twitter at BESTOWPROD, PROD, and on Facebook, BESTOW TV.
If you want to place an advertisement with this podcast, and gosh, why wouldn't you? We could be talking about you right now. Contact us, Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. That's MRLOBO @CINEMAINSOMNIA.com. Or support us on Patreon. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at patreons.com/cinemainsomnia. That's patreon.com/cinemainsomnia. Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Knights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.